Today, I finally am going to play with the viral foundation balm by KVD. This is their Good Apple Skin Perfecting Foundation Balm, and this retails for $38 US. This went viral. It's sold out everywhere. I don't even know how I found this at Ulta, but I made my purchase at Ulta Beauty, and yeah, I'm really intrigued about this foundation. So what is this? This is a buildable, it's full coverage, hydrating foundation balm with a lightweight, long wear formula and a fresh matte finish in a fully recyclable packaging. So all of this sounds really interesting. I have never tested a foundation balm before, so I'm kind of expecting a texture of something balmy and obviously with lots of coverage. They do recommend to apply this with either a dampened sponge or a really dense, full-packed foundation brush. I'm going to use this one right here by Bobbi Brown. It's my love right now. I've been using this nonstop and I can't get enough of it. So let's go for it. Tested this out for the B-roll, but this is a very interesting texture. Like I said, it has like a gel texture, but it's really waxy and balmy, and it's very wet, but once you kind of swatch it and you blend it in, it feels almost like a really lightweight, soft matte foundation, and it feels almost like a powder, and it blends in really fast. And look at that coverage, it's like the tiniest amount. So that's really interesting. Like, it doesn't even feel like you have anything on your hand. With this type of texture, I feel like you would feel it for a very long time, but this just kind of just sets really fast. Like, that's a very interesting texture. So first, let's go with the sponge. I'm gonna dive right in. This is shade Light 4. I'm gonna go on this side right here just to see how this looks on my skin, because people are saying this is crazy coverage. I mean, wow. Just like swiping this on. I mean, all of this product is probably good for my entire face. And the color is a little bit light, so I might take light 10. And I'm going to sweep this on my face first and then go in with a sponge, kind of dab this in. Oh yeah, like I can even see the foundation from here, and it doesn't look good because it's so heavy, but look at that. That's like very medium to full coverage. All right, to shear this out, I'm just taking the other side of the sponge, and look how much product it's picking up. I'm just trying to shear this foundation out as much as I can, just because it does look super heavy and cakey right now. Any kind of dry spot, it's attaching itself. I have a dry spot right here, and it's not looking great. But like with a sponge, it would look really good, but it's just exaggerating every little texture on my skin. So basically, if you want to see how dry your skin is or where you have dry spots, this could be it. I'm gonna take my brush and just dip in once and just start patting it. My goodness, like barely pat, and there's so much coverage already. Yeah, this foundation is kind of tricky just because you have to really figure out how much product to use to get the best amount of coverage, how much can your skin handle. I think that's what I'm learning right now with this foundation. You need to just barely tap and it'll give you a decent amount of coverage. This is the coverage I'm really happy with. I feel like this right here looks really heavy, and I actually like it better with a brush. So you could just blend it in much better and faster. On this side, it looks much better. Wow, like really nice. Still looks like skin, evened out the skin tone really well. Yeah, I feel like this side, I have like that strawberry texture, like those little dots on my face where my skin, like my pores are. It kind of accentuates those areas. That's one thing I do want to say is, yes, I think personally for me, it looks better with a brush. Just basically the bare minimum, just tapping it in there and then tapping it onto your face. And I feel like it blended it out better with my brush. Oh yeah, it looks so much better. It feels like it's set. Just looking, it looks like it's still picking up a little bit of foundation, and I can kind of feel it. I'm just kind of surprised that I like it better with a brush, especially this kind of texture of a foundation. I feel like I have a little more control with the brush than with a sponge. I'm gonna apply the rest of my makeup on, but I am going to see how like the blush and the bronzer I apply on top of this product to see if it moves the foundation around or if it's going to sit really nicely. Huda Beauty for contour. And this stuff blends on literally everything that I've tried so far. It looks like it's blending, but I'm finding that it's having a little bit of a hard time kind of moving around, which is fascinating. I think I have to blend this in a little bit more. Like I have to spend a little more time finessing this product I'm finding right now with this foundation underneath. Just the way it dried down on the back of my hand, it was so fast and almost instantaneous. It has kind of like a powdery, soft, matte finish in a way. So maybe that's why it's having it's gripping a little bit too much to the foundation underneath. It looks like it did pick up quite a bit of product right here on both sides. And I'm trying just to tap this in instead of really swipe it on the face. Like I have to work too hard to make the products that I already work with, so many products, to make them look good. Taking this Say blush in shade Peachy. This is like one of the easiest blushes to work with, and it's such a beautiful formula. This blush blended really easily on top of this foundation, which is really nice. I have mascara primer on. Now that all of the makeup is on, I wanted to keep it a very natural, fresh-faced look. So really a beautiful fresh blush, which, like I said, Say is my favorite blush currently since I've tested it and I just can't stop using it. The more this foundation is sitting on my skin, the more I'm starting to like it. Just sometimes foundations, they look not great when you apply them, but 10 minutes into your makeup application, it kind of just settles into your face in a good way, kind of melts into your skin in a really good way. But I do want to mention that if you do have any dry spots that you see, even with your moisturizer, this foundation really grabs on to those dry spots and it really exaggerates the dry spots. I didn't even know I had any dry spots on my nose, and it really just sits on there. And then right here on the forehead, I knew I had dry spots. I didn't think they were gonna be this visible. But from far away, this foundation actually looks really beautiful. It looks very healthy. It looks very natural. And I actually prefer it more with this brush than a dampened sponge, which I'm actually shocked about. Because I feel like with a dampened sponge, it kind of gives it more of a natural finish. With the brush, usually gives a very full coverage look. And I felt like with the brush, because I didn't go with a little bit less product, just to see how less product do I need to still get a really good medium coverage. And I think it performed better with at least this particular brush. This is the Bobbi Brown, her full coverage face brush. The coverage and the finish just looks so stunning. On this side, I think it looks better. It's not looking as strawberry finish. So it does look better, but I still prefer it with the brush on my face. The forehead is looking quite glowy, very dewy, but I don't mind it. I really want to see how it's going to sit the rest of the face. Is it going to exaggerate all the fine lines? Is it going to feel heavy? Is it going to look really cakey? Is it going to make my face even more shiny? I'm not going to set my face as of right now because I do like the finish of the full face because I think it looks a very natural finish. If it starts looking really oily, I'm going to get rid of that oil, or just I'm going to blot my oil and then set the face. But I'll keep you guys updated just to see how this reacts with my skin. But this is definitely not a matte finish, at least on my face. This is definitely very natural, borderline, very luminous, dewy finish foundation. But as of right now, I actually don't mind how it's looking on my face. We'll see in a couple of hours how it's going to look.
We just finished bike riding and now we're just laying in the hammock relaxing. I was looking at my face up close, and usually in the foundations like this, usually cream foundations, they tend to be a little bit heavier on my skin. My skin really likes liquid or just like really light tinted moisturizer because I have normal to combo skin, and sometimes, you know, combo meaning there's some oily spots and there's some dry spots as well. But the one thing I noticed with this foundation, even though it sits beautifully on the face, those fine lines around the mouth area right here, it exaggerates it even more. It looks so dry. And then I applied it to the back of my hand, and I was just comparing it with Andre, and this, like, it really filled in every single line, and it looks better without foundation on the other side of my hand. So it's just, that's kind of how it's resonating on my face. Like every single fine line is really filled and it looks dry. Even though it doesn't look like it's drying because it's very luminous and dewy, which I actually really like. But then when you look up close, it kind of exaggerates every single fine line and every kind of pore and texture that's a little bit drier. So I think that's kind of the downfall. Like it looks pretty good when you just apply it, you know? Kind of sits and melts into your skin, but then kind of when it melts in, it dries even more. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm not really enjoying the way it's looking on my skin right now.
Just looking at a very close-up of my face, and it's not looking so great, like at all. I have never had a foundation mustache in my life. So you know how when you were a kid and you drank milk or you ate milk with cereal, and then when it dries up, you get a milk mustache, or if you have a baby and you feed them, it gets all over their face and it dries up and it gives them like a white, like crusty look around their mouth. Yeah, this is what this foundation is giving me, especially right here where I applied it with the Beauty Blender, but it kind of goes all the way over to this side. I've never had this experience with the foundation. The way it cracked and the way it separated, it looks so crusty and so bad. Wow, I'm like shocked at how bad that looks. The nose still looks super dry. Forehead is super oily and also dry at the same time. It looks really bad right here where the pores are. Mixing with the concealer and this foundation was a horrible idea. I think the only place it looks pretty decent is right here where I applied the bare minimum amount of coverage. So you can definitely make this look somewhat good if you apply the bare minimum. And I think this is the way you use this foundation, is use the tiniest amount, because if you go to like a medium full coverage, it just looks so heavy, so cakey, and the way it breaks apart, the way it cracks, the way it moves on the skin, it just is not flattering. It just does not look good. So I think if you have very dry skin, you might want to stay away from this product. Even though it sounds really good, it's creamy, it's buildable, it's a soft matte finish, you know what I mean? It's just all those things, they sound nice, but in reality, the way they look, it doesn't look good. Like, it definitely is giving me an extra amount of shine. Like, I'm very oily, but then my skin also looks really dry and cracked. Not a good combination. It's definitely not a long wearing foundation. Even the way it applied, you have to start off very slow, the tiniest amount. Like, I mean, I barely dabbed it into the foundation. Like, you just tap it ever so slightly, tiniest amount, and then you start blending and building up the coverage. But I was kind of surprised that the dampened beauty sponge didn't look better than this brush right here. The brush looked far better. I felt like I had a lot more control with it, and I feel like this side still looks better than this side. I don't look as heavy, but just this foundation mustache, it is not a good look, and I've never experienced that before. So that is very fascinating that it happened to me. Please let me know your thoughts if you have tried this foundation out. What kind of skin type do you have? How do you apply it that you find wears best? I'm really disappointed that this viral foundation, yes, it has great coverage, but that's where it ends. It doesn't last well. It doesn't blend as easy with the dampened sponge. It doesn't look good on the face. It exaggerates a lot of stuff on your face, every little fine line. If you have any dry spots that you didn't know you had, you will now. I need to go exfoliate this very gently with my liquid exfoliators and just take better of my skin so I don't have those dry patches. But again, you guys, please share your thoughts on this viral foundation balm, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.